Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of color commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by an impact fee technician who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome back to the show, Corrina Mabey.
Hello there. How are you?
Not too bad, yourself?
Not terrible. It's been a minute.
Has it been a little while? Blame Blake
Yeah.
for deciding to hog all of the topics for the last 3 weeks.
Hey, y'all had a great time. While y'all had fun doing that, I got to have fun watching Haunted Mansion, and you still have to wait like a month, so it's all good.
So before we dive into the latest movie and review topic, Pario magazine stands in solidarity and support of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA in their fight for better working conditions. Our publication has always been focused on the creative brilliance of these individuals rather than on the business of film and TV. As such, we will continue to highlight their creative talents during this time so that their contribution to our entertainment is not overlooked. This week, we are swinging into the Spider-Verse as we review Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you. That was a very good, swinging pun kind of moment. Proud of you.
So before we sort of
better.
dig into everything about the movie, actually, probably explain what the movie is. 2023 computer animated film produced by Columbia Pictures and Sony Pictures. Sequel to 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This one sees Miles Morales return in the next chapter of the Spider-Verse saga, which is an epic adventure that sees him join forces with Gwen Stacey as they're catapulted across the multiverse, encountering a team of spider people charged with protecting the multiverse's very existence. So before we dig into all of the little bits and pieces, what did you think of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
I liked it. I'm not very big on, there's not a lot of animated movies that'll grasp my attention. I know I hadn't watched the first Spider-Verse movie until you made me watch it like a month ago or however long ago it was before this came out. And I liked it a lot. I had so many questions because it is so many different variations of Spider-Man. And this one just got even better with all these fucking Spider-Mans. Spider people, whatever. Spider things.
Because they're not all people either.
They're not all people. It was a lot to keep track of. I had to make sure I was awake too because I knew if I was not fully coherent and into it that I was going to miss everything. So it was fun though. It was a fun ride. And it's not just like a kids movie, which I appreciate. So, and I love this style of animation.
Yeah, it still had a lot of styles. I don't think it had as many different styles as it had in Into the Spider-Verse. I think that had a lot more variations in the animation style, but it still had lots. We still had like the typical Miles Morales animation style. And then the Gwen Stacy universe was like similar, but a little bit more cel shady. And like the backgrounds are a little bit more blurred, which I liked. And then we had the Renaissance Vulture. He was very different looking. But then all of the like spider people, once we get into the like actual spider base thing, were all very similar. Yeah. There wasn't a huge amount of like variation there, which I kind of expected more. There wasn't like a crazy anime one or like a 1950s Spider-Man.
There's a couple though. Like I did notice that there was like just a few, not like as many though as you said, but there was like a couple here and there. And I was like, oh, that's definitely different style than that one over there. One there.
Yeah. And I guess we got Lego Spider-Man as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there was a variation, but I just think because in Into the Spider-Verse where they like had that limited cast of like 5 or 6, each one was very different and had like a lot of contrast between them.
Yes, yeah. It's hard to keep track of like the different styles when you get to be like when you get to have so many things all in one screen, and to also make them work collectively where it doesn't look like a hodgepodge of crap.
Hmm. Because like even like this movie, we had Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, the Peter B. Parker from the previous movie, uh, Spider Woman, Spider Man India, Spider Punk was like very different, but Spider
That's
Woman
my
and
favorite.
Spider Woman and Spider India were like pretty much the same style as Miles and Gwen.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
Spider Punk was really cool. His animation style was very, very like sketchbooky kind of, and I liked it a lot.
yeah, I think he was probably the most uniquely animated of the sort of main cast of Spider people in this one.
Yeah,
Because even the Miguel character, he was like pretty much the same style.
yeah, he looked a little bit more sharp. Like
Yeah,
he looked
a
like a
little bit
little
more
bit more
like
defined.
pointy edges.
Yeah, like very, very crisp. Whereas like some of the Miles and Gwen kind of still looked a little bit like rough sketched.
Yeah, so, like there was differences, but just yeah,
Very similar
less
though.
like dramatic differences.
Hmm.
And then in terms of the cast, Shamik Moore returned to play Miles, and as did Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. What did you think of those two characters and their portrayals of the characters?
I think they're great. They really take on their character. I feel like they really embody their character. I feel like they're super dedicated to them too, and I appreciate that like their their animated character kind of takes on some of their real life persona characteristics and stuff like that a little bit. So I feel like they are great choices in the original one, and I'm glad that they maintained the same cast because I think it would have been really weird if you had different voice actors.
Mm-hmm. I felt like this was a much more balanced movie for those two characters. Like they were on a much more even scale this time in terms of where the story was centered. Like Into the Spider Verse was absolutely a Miles story, and then everyone else was like secondary. But this one, even that opening 20 minutes before we get the like title sequence, it was basically a
Yeah,
Gwen Stacy mini movie.
yeah, and it was crazy for me because as I was watching this, and I probably should have remembered from the first one, but as I'm watching this, I totally completely forgot that I hadn't watched the credits yet, like the opening credits or anything. I was like, I just figured I was watching the same movie, like, and it was going to continue, and then it like got to like the important scene in that, and I was like, oh wait, that was just like pre-movie credit shenanigans. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it was like a Gwen Stacy short movie at the beginning of a Miles Morales movie, but then
yeah,
as the film progresses, there is a lot more Gwen story in this one, which I enjoyed.
and I'm glad for that.
I think they should both be on a similar level. Like if it's not a Peter Parker movie, Miles and Gwen are the two most notable Spider people.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because they always push like Spider Gwen merchandise. Like they've been pushing it for years. And unless like you were a fan of like the series prior to the movies, no one had any idea who she was.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that like now kids, for instance, who might not read comics or something like that because it doesn't grasp their attention, they can actually like put a character with merchandise now and be like, yes, it's Spider Gwen stuff, and like she's super cool.
Especially for girls too. Like Miles and Peter are Spider Men. There's no
Yeah.
female characters until this one, where we get Gwen Stacy being much more fleshed out, and we also get Spider Woman. So now there are some female characters as well.
Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, I like it because it's kind of like when you look at like the Avengers or something like that, like you have Black Widow there, and she was there from like the get go. So to see like all these like Spider-Man productions happen and no mention, obviously it's in a different multiverse or whatever, but the fact that we've never really had one, it's great to see that now they're embracing those characters.
And yeah, it is in a different multiverse, but they do cross over into
They touch on it.
the MCU proper as well, and the
Yep.
Sony Spider-Man universe as well. Like they did
Hmm.
a great job of like weaving all of these elements together in this movie, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's really hard to be able to take that many different storylines and put them into one film and not have it get absolutely messed up in like a bowl of spaghetti. It worked really well.
It made me wonder if at some point this version of Miles and Gwen will go across into MCU proper, or if they will just cast live action actors in these roles.
That would be an interesting take because we never really expected to see any kind of like Marvel Sony cross, like Sony Marvel versus Marvel like crossover until Tom Holland's Spider-Man kind of made that jump over to the Avengers. Um, so that was kind of it's kind of interesting to yeah note and see what they're gonna do with it. I don't know. I'm curious now. I'm really curious
Yeah,
about that.
I feel if they do it, like either lean into the animated style and have like the animated Miles and Gwen running around next to live action Avengers, or just
Yes,
take
like a
these actors across. Don't like get a different actress to play Gwen and a different actor to play Miles. I think that would be weird. Like just take these people across
no.
if you're
It'd be
gonna
cool if they did like
pull them into the live action world.
yeah, like it'd be fun if they pulled like a Roger Rabbit slash like Chippendales style kind of thing where you have the cartoon and live action mixing together. Like that way you could really see the craziness of the multiverse too.
Yeah, like it would really give you that extra bit of contrast. But with the issues that Disney have had with their art departments recently, and them basically forming a union recently, or voting to form a union recently, I think adding in an
Yeah.
animated character that has to sit alongside all of these live action characters might be a stretch. So just take the actors across.
Well, that and licensing issues too, since there's like the multi Spider-Man licensing shenanigans between Disney and Sony and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, the character's a bit of a mess, really.
It's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess.
But yeah, I could see them just like pulling Haley and Shamik across and just dropping them into the live action world, because it's not like the actor playing Miles is like an Asian man or a white guy. Like it is a black teenager, so it's not gonna feel
Hmm.
weird. And Haley Steinfeld looks like Gwen Stacy anyway, so again, doesn't feel
Yeah,
weird
she
to
really
just pull
does.
them across.
Hmm. No, I think it would be great. I also hope that if they decide to do a live action and go that way, that they don't wait too long because they're still like young and they're gonna age pretty quickly. Kind of like what happened with the kids in Stranger Things. They went from like little peons to like full grown adults in a blink of an eye. So
Hmm.
they'll need to do something pretty quick.
And then yeah, I guess the other issue is there's a third Spider Verse movie due at some point, originally due in 2024, but they've sort of since pulled that from the release schedule and said it's just going to come out when it's ready. We're not going to rush to hit an
Good.
arbitrary date. So maybe that is the one that
I
it,
hope they don't wait too long.
I guess with the strikes, it's a big issue. But
Yeah,
um,
it's an issue.
I guess maybe that is the one that then like propels Miles and Gwen across into the live action universe.
That would be a really good way of doing that. Even if they focus this next film on full animation, but then like end credits or something like that, or anything like that, just like leading into live action, kind of hinting it would be fun. There was such a long gap between the first movie and then this one, and so unfortunately, like I hate to say it, but I feel like you're probably right. It's going to be another big gap between this one and the next one, which could potentially hurt them.
Yeah, I think it'll be a long gap, but I don't think it'll be as long because when that first one was made, the next two weren't planned. And then because it exploded,
yeah.
they were like, okay, yeah, we can continue this universe. Whereas this time, they went into this saying, oh, we're making two to close out a trilogy. So the gap should be a little bit lessened, but then we've got this whole strike situation. So
yeah, so everything's on hold now.
And the way this story is, like with the little watch bracelet things that allows them to jump across to different multiverses, I think that would make total sense. Like, and we saw live action jumping into this universe, so we could quite easily see more of that crossover in the third one, ultimately leading to Miles getting given his full-blown watch, and then him and Gwen going out on adventures and jumping into the live action universe when required.
That would be fun. Chloe and I have called that the glitch watch because it reminds us of Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph when she glitches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's perfect. It's a great name because I can't remember the actual technical name for it. I think they just call it the spider watch.
Yeah, I think they just basically said it's a watch or something.
It's a watch or something, yeah.
And then in terms of the live action actors that jumped across, Donald Glover pulled across as the Prowler from Spider-Man Homecoming, Mrs. Chen from the Sony Spider-Man universe, the store clerk. She's in a lot of the Spider-Man movies, and I think she's in Venom as well.
Yes, she is, because Venom wants to eat her originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Holland
like, no, you can't eat her.
Tom's like, no, you can't eat this one. She's nice.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield was there. Tobey Maguire was kind of there.
With Uncle Ben, kind of.
Yeah, and like when they see, like, they show the web of like the spider, the universes, the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Even though Miguel calls it some other ridiculous name, he's like, okay, yeah, that is kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was like an elongated, really ridiculous shenanigans. I was like,
so when they see that on all those convergent points, when there's like 5 or 6 triangles of photos, one of those photos is Tobey Maguire being like taken over by the symbiote. So he is in this movie, but it's very subtle compared to the Andrew Garfield one, where it's just like, hey.
How's it going?
And then
that's fine. Yeah, there were so many different things in here.
And we also got the voice of Alfred Molina as Doc Ock when they're going through that sequence as well. So
it was very brief. It was super brief, but yeah.
Lots of like live action coming across into this one. So now we've just got to go the other way. And then some of the other characters and Easter eggs we got were Jeff and Rio Morales, Miles' parents. Again, they're fantastic. Particularly Rio, she had a much more substantial role in this one. We mentioned Spider-Woman.
I loved her. His parents are fun.
Yeah. Spider-Woman, Spider-Man India, Miguel, or Spider-Man 2099, who is just a massive jerk.
I feel like he was the real villain in this movie, just so we're clear.
Yep.
I have never met a more villainous Spider-Man ever.
I love that he's like half Spider-Man, part vampire. Like, that's an interesting twist on the character.
When I was watching that, I was like, it's Morbius and Spider-Man in one character, and this is really strange.
And then we had alternate universe Miles G. Morales, who in that universe is not Spider-Man. He's the Prowler of Earth 42.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was a big twist. And then some of the other characters that were very fun. Andy Samberg as the Scarlet Spider, who's just constantly having these existential thoughts of death and dread. It's just like, I just don't want to do anything. Spider Bite returned, the like robot Spider Woman. Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker. Who else? We saw Webslinger and his horse Widow, the Spider-Man Bandit and Spider-Man horse.
It was like the best thing ever. I told you yesterday. It was my top 3 of spider things in this whole movie. Especially because like the web comes out of the hooves of the horse and it's just like foo, foo. Like, why is there a horse hanging upside down?
Then I mentioned we saw Lego Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man from the 2008 to 2009 animated TV series. He was in there.
Oh, okay. Back to our collection of spider things.
Yes. So we got the Insomniac Spider-Man from the PlayStation games. Saw him walking around in the Spider-Man base, and also when Miles's roommate Genki is like sitting there playing his PlayStation. He's playing the Spider-Man games.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right. That didn't register with me.
Yeah, he's playing the games, and he's also like, I'm not your man in the chair, which is a reference to the Spider-Man MCU movies.
Oh, that makes total sense.
We got the Spider Therapist, which was very fun.
That reminded me of like something you would have seen in Deadpool, probably. Like That's all I could think of was like a Deadpool therapist talking to another Deadpool or something like that.
Spider UK, the Sun Spider, Jack Quaid as Earth 65, Peter Parker, who's basically just like a dude. He's not even Spider-Man in that universe. And J.K. Simmons reprising his role as J. Jonah Jameson as well.
He's the only Jameson for me because he's been that character in every Spider-Man movie, and it's wonderful. He is that character. He has owned it for forever.
Yep. So then on to like the story elements. I thought the opening like 20 minutes was just like an incredibly heartbreaking way to kickstart this movie.
It was. I'm kind of mad at you that you forgot the 2 most important spider people things.
Oh, the spider saw
in this entire movie. Spider cat, spider kitten, and yes, Spidersaurus Rex. That is his name, is Spidersaurus Rex. He's the best thing to ever come out of any movie whatsoever, and I'm heartbroken that you did not give them enough credit.
That was a funny one. Just a big T-Rex running around with a Spider-Man mask on.
Spider-Man outfit. It was like a T-Rex wearing Spider-Man pajamas. That's what he looked like. He found like kid Spider-Man pajamas and just put them on and was ready to rock. Menace. Anyway, yes, back to our most serious moments. That was a really rough start to a movie. Like, absolutely gut-wrenching. Like, it started out pretty good, and I was like, oh, this is going great. Like, Gwen's doing her thing. That's cool. And then it got really dark really quick.
Yeah, so she lost her best friend, and then her dad tried to arrest her for killing her best friend. I was like, oh my god, this poor girl has lost everything, which is very Spider-Man.
It is, yeah, just in a very different way, but like still keeping true to that whole you have nothing, like just literally rough.
And then as the movie progressed, we get introduced to the villain for the film, The Spot, who is like this totally hapless criminal just trying to steal an ATM very poorly, but quickly becomes a very formidable foe.
I love Spot. He's the coolest thing ever. Like, I thought he was a joke villain for a while just because the other Spider-Man was so mean. And so I was like, there's no way that this is the actual villain. Like, there's got to be a twist. But watching Spot just like standing in the convenience store and like food is just popping out of different spots on him was the best way to start that for me.
And then, yeah, he just keeps like trying to drop this ATM through the hole and only gets like half through. And he's like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
And then, and I love the way that like their whole fight finished where he kicked his own button.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Like that whole fight sequence between him and Miles was just absolutely bonkers, like all over the place, smacking each other. Miles like wetting himself in the face
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting Spot was really great.
Yeah, like you think about that power, it's a pretty powerful power to have. Like you can just pop a hole through something and it teleports it somewhere else. Like, oh, that's pretty handy, but he just can't control it or use it very well.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Like you see like the half done cars and stuff like that after the whole thing happens, and you're like, I don't know where the rest of that car went.
But then as the movie progresses, he becomes a formidable foe and becomes a interdimensional super being, as he likes to put it, that's when he gets like pretty scary and challenging for them to overcome.
Yeah, he was kind of crazy. Like I said, he started out really like almost comical, kind of like, I don't know what's going on. I can't control my powers, but I'm a villain, rar. And then he became like this uber villain, and you see the art style of Spot actually change, I think, or at least for me, I noticed that he changed significantly, where he went from like, you know, bright white and like a little bit of spots here and there to like being almost all consumed by like one spot, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And I love that his like motivations to become this interdimensional super being was
Yes.
Miles calling him a villain of the week. He's like, I'm not a villain of the week.
Yeah. It was just ridiculous.
Which was very funny. Some of the other funny moments that stood out to me was Puerto Rico is part of America. We're not immigrants.
I almost lost it when I heard that. I go, oh God, they really went there with this, didn't they?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I also cringed at Gwen when she goes to Miles's bedroom for the first time. She's like, "Oh, you've got these cool collectibles. Why is it still in the container?" And just like rips it open. I'm like, don't do that. And he's just like, okay.
It was worth something.
Yeah, now it's worth nothing. Great. Thanks, Gwen.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like if I didn't know about collectibles, I'd just be like, oh, let's open up everything. But here I am with like a wall of things that don't ever get touched.
And then we go to Mumbatan, a blending of Mumbai and Manhattan. And we hear...
That was a really fun twist on a city, by the way. I actually really enjoyed that for such a weird kind of concept. It's kind of like Big Hero 6 making San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very weird blending of different cultures.
Yeah.
And I loved the little the chai tea conversation they have where, and call it chai tea. Chai means tea. You're basically just saying tea.
TT.
Which then was like a callback to the Spot first fight where like Miles asks him, why do people say ATM machine? The M stands for machine. You're basically saying ATM or automatic teller machine.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy now because now when I see that, because obviously like Starbucks has a chai tea latte, and now I'm in my head, I'm like, it's a TT latte.
Yummy, TT latte.
So I can't look at it anymore the same way. I'm just my mind literally was blown. I go, damn, I feel uncultured just now. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And then on the Miguel front, mentioned he's a total jerk. And I love that they call him out for being the only unfunny Spider-Man,
Yes.
which is very true. Like
Too
that is
funny.
like the charm of the Spider-Man character,
Mm-hmm.
because he can.
Then yeah, he has like just like that guy next door kind of way about him, but he also has just like innocent like jokes about him too. Like he's able to just joke around and like, whatever, kick back. But yeah, serious Spider-Man doesn't work.
Yeah, because like most of the time, Spider-Man is just like he's a teenager. He's supposed to be a goofy kid who isn't really all that good at being a superhero. He just kind of somehow manages to come out on top all the time, and he's just
Yeah.
cracking jokes at the expense of the villains the whole way through.
Yeah, and you can tell that like even when you go all the way back to like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, he still seems like very like goofy and not comfortable in his own skin as a superhero. And then like flash forward now to Tom Holland, where he really is like that goofy like high school teenager who's just trying to like impress a girl, and he's like, I have all these cool superpowers.
Mm-hmm. And then we also get we get the youngest version of a Spider character that we've seen so far, with the return of Peter Parker and his baby May. I thought that was a super hype moment when they're revealed.
She's so adorable with her little Spider-Man beanie.
And yeah, she's just like,
Yeah,
it's like,
she's
don't tell your
super
mum.
cute.
Don't tell your mum we're going out on this
Yeah,
adventure.
and the fact that like she slides down from the ceiling like randomly, like, meow.
Yeah. She has more control of her powers than Spot does, and she's a
A toddler,
1-year-old.
like a baby, not even a toddler. She's itty bitty.
Yep. I also
I like how
giggled
she also just crawls around everybody.
yeah.
Like she randomly just like crawls around the entire like area and just lands on people.
I guess that'd be the funny part about having a baby with those powers. Like, at least in the real world, a baby they're generally just on the floor somewhere.
Yeah,
Like her, you're like, oh crap,
having
where
that
is
was
she?
on
And
the
you got to
ceiling.
look everywhere. Like, is she on the roof? Is she on the walls?
I also loved the fact that they made a changing table out of spider webs.
Eh,
Like him and Punk Spider-Man had like that whole makeshift changing table for her.
yep. And then the other moment that really had me laughing was all of the Spider-Man like, catch the Spider-Man, and then they all just like, which one? That one or that one? I was like, they recreated the Spider-Man meme, which was perfect. Like that had to be done in this movie.
Yeah, if they didn't, I would have been kind of mad, honestly, because it was a perfect opportunity and they could not have let that pass them by.
And then another big return, the Prowler, or does he? I love that where the uncle returns. It's like, oh crap, the Prowler, he's alive in this universe, and then we later find out that
Yeah,
no, he's not the Prowler. It's Miles who's
yeah.
turned into the Prowler because his dad got killed.
That aha moment too was actually like really crazy for me. They did a really good job of like blending that like at the same time, and then you just like last minute realize, oh crap, like that's not, nope, that's not right.
Yeah, yeah, like they did a good job of letting you think that the uncle was the Prowler in this universe, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then they revealed it. No, it's not him. It's Miles with long dreads.
Yeah, Chloe is obsessed with bad guy Miles. She's like, doesn't he look dope? And I'm like, yes, Chloe, he looks dope. I'm too old to use these words, but sure, kid.
And then the last couple of notes I had were there's huge potential for a third film in this trilogy, which we sort of mentioned about more crossovers. I'm excited to see Miles versus Miles. It should be fun.
Yeah, that'll be crazy.
And also like the story element of our Miles, the Spider-Man. He's the original like they don't call them variants. Called them something else.
No. I don't even remember what they called them.
anomaly. I think that's what they called them. Something like that, where like,
That would make sense.
yeah, he's the original anomaly because he was bitten by a spider from a different
From a
universe.
different
So like he
universe.
never should have
Yeah.
been Spider-Man, and then by him becoming Spider-Man, that's what led to his Peter Parker dying. I'm like, oh wow. That's a really cool like story on story, like multifaceted, layered story of multiversal elements.
Yeah, like cause and effect. Yeah, especially with the fact that Miles wasn't supposed to happen. Like, it's interesting to see if they go and touch base on like other things that happened because Miles is now Spider-Man versus what should have happened.
Yep.
It'll be really weird. They have so many different ways that they could go with that. But yeah, it's kind of like what they did with Loki. Like, you're not supposed to be here, so like because you did this, this is happening.
I guess the only one like issue with that story though is because he was bitten by a spider that wasn't supposed to be in his universe and then becomes Spider-Man. Shouldn't he be glitching in every single universe? Because he's not supposed to be in any of them.
I guess you're right in a sense, yeah, because like now that he's been bitten, and even in his own universe, he's not supposed to technically be Spider-Man, so he should really not be
Yeah,
comfortable anywhere.
he
Yeah,
should be like
there's
glitching
no level
everywhere.
playing field for him. Yeah, that's really strange and kind of interesting. Yeah,
So yeah, maybe if they explore that more, they'll just be like, okay, we need to give you a watch, otherwise you're just constantly glitching everywhere, and that's going to cause some major issues.
yeah, yeah.
And then the soundtrack. I thought this soundtrack was way, way weaker than the original soundtrack. There was no like iconic songs that I want to go back and listen to in this one, whereas like that first one had Sunflower, which I thought was an incredible song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's not the best soundtrack. I do believe that music makes a movie, and that was the one lacking spot in this entire film for me. Um, there could have just been like a lot more like epic songs that they used for different things, whether it be like all the Spider-Mans chasing each other or, like epic battle scenes. It's just one of those things that might have been overlooked. And I don't know if it's because it was such a big budget, because I feel like this might have been a bit slightly large budget for an animated film. So they might have just used the budget on that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a high budget, like $100 million, but it's not like astronomically
Not outrageous
crazy.
then.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that one hook of a song where I'm like, okay, that's the song, that's the single from this movie. Whereas like that first
Yeah.
one had Sunflower, and that song just absolutely exploded after
Mm-hmm.
Into the Spider-Verse released.
Yeah, it is kind of strange, but I mean, take it for what it is, I guess.
But they had a whole bunch of Air Jordans in there, so that's a plus. And then, so I mentioned $100 million budget. The box office earnings so far $686.8 million. So that seems pretty successful and explains why they're doing a third one. The movie is now available to stream digitally as either a rental or purchase here in Australia. I'm not sure what it's like over there. Probably about the same.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Prime for rent.
Yeah, so
Rent or own or something like that. Yeah.
it'll jump to a streaming service at some point soon. I'm trying to think where. The first one is on Disney here, so I imagine it'll go there again.
I mean, maybe for you guys, I know over here we don't. Last I checked, Disney doesn't have any of the standalone Spider-Man movies on their platform because they're still falling under Sony. So I can't watch them that way, which is weird. Venom ended like when Venom came out and Morbius came out; those both ended up on Netflix for us. So, and actually, the Amazing Spider, I think it's the Amazing Spider-Man, whatever one it is with Andrew Garfield. I haven't, for the record, I've never seen his Spider-Man movies, but those were also on Netflix for us.
Oh, this will be available somewhere.
Very
It'll
different.
just depend on where it lands. But
where you are.
at the moment, it's pretty much
Yeah.
available everywhere as an extra rental or purchase fee.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, yeah, like we mentioned, the third one is coming, but Phil Lord and Christopher Miller have both stated that we will take the time necessary to finish the film. So hopefully not too long. Like, yeah, they were targeting 2024, so maybe depending on how all the strike ends up being resolved and when, 2025 at the earliest, I would
Like
say.
late 2024, maybe 25.
Yeah, I don't think they'll hit 2024 at this point. Like, I guess they could do all the animation stuff, and then they just have to get the actors in to record. But yeah,
it could still take a while. I mean,
I would think 2025 at the earliest.
Yeah, I mean, if they push it out for 24, it means that they probably cut a lot of corners. Is the only thing I can think of.
So then, overall, what would you rate Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
I'd give it a solid 4. It's not something that like I would jump to go back to just because I'm not like one of those ones that rewatches animated films very often. But it's definitely one of the better movies I've seen this year. I've heard a lot of positive things come out about it in comparison to a lot of the other animated films that have come out that have been compared to it. Because I guess that new Ninja Turtle movie that came out, people were comparing it to Spider-Man's like animation style. But from a lot of people that I've talked to, they said that you can't compare the two at all.
I've heard good things about TMNT, but I just don't think it hits the same level as the Spider-Man one, which I gave a 4, only like slightly under Into the Spider-Verse. I think Into the Spider-Verse was just like groundbreaking for the time, and this one is kind of just a bit more of the same with a little bit of expansion in a couple of points, but other than that, 4 out of 5, pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the original one was definitely groundbreaking for the type of film it was, and to kind of reintroduce Spider-Man in a different way that we're not used to. And so it's nice to see that they're continuing with that. But yeah, like you said, it felt slightly shorter from the original one, but I'm glad that that it ended the way it did, and I'm excited to see that they are going to go through with another one.
Yep. Yeah, I hope they stick to this idea of a trilogy and close it out and wrap it all up nicely with the third one. And if they want to continue with this character, spin it off into the MCU proper.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Corrina on Instagram at Miss Corrina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at JamieUps Media and at Pario Magazine. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of JamieUps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.